Hi everyone, this is Matt Henderson with Marsh & McLennan Agency. And in this brief video, we're going to do a quick review of the 3 medical plan options that you have to choose from, as well as the dental and the vision for those employees who are eligible to be covered under the benefits at PIP Pediatric Dental and Orthodontics. If you're already covered on the plan, this shouldn't be new information to you. The good news is we're renewing the coverage without any changes, effective October 1st, 2023. If you're new to the plan, hopefully this will just provide a really great overview of what your plan options are so that as you go through the open enrollment, you'll have a good idea of which plans you want to choose from. What I have up on the screen, the top kind of 2/3 of the page are the 3 medical plan options side by side provided by Cigna, and at the bottom, the dental and the vision plans. Please note that these are very high overview basic summaries of the plans, and you should always refer to the full benefit summaries provided by the carrier if you really want to get into the weeds and see how the nitty-gritty plan benefits work. What we try to provide on this page is just kind of the most common, frequently asked questions and parts of your plan that people tend to pay the most attention to. Okay, so let's dig in. First, we'll start with the Cigna medical plan that's called the OAP Buy-Up Plan. This is the richest of the 3 plans that you have available to you. You'll notice I didn't put any of the rates on the sheet here because I wanted to have this all consolidated into one page. As you go through the enrollment process, you'll be able to see the rates, what it will cost you, and then what it will cost to enroll any of your dependents as well on each of these plans. So actually, before we get into the plan, one comment that I want to mention is you'll see we have the in-network and the out-of-network benefits listed on all 3 of these plans here. Primarily, we're going to be focusing on the green boxes, the in-network benefits, because the vast majority of your healthcare is going to be in-network. But I would like you to notice that as you go to the out-of-network benefits, your deductibles double, your co-insurance is not near as good, and your out-of-pocket maximums double. So the more you can do to stay in-network, regardless of which plans you're on, the lower your out-of-pocket costs will be. Okay, now let's dig into the buy-up plan. The first thing you'll notice is the deductible on this plan is $1,000 for an individual, $2,000 if you're enrolling any dependents. The co-insurance is an 80-20 split. So once that deductible has been satisfied, the insurance pays 80%, you pay 20% until you reach the out-of-pocket maximum. On this plan, the out-of-pocket maximum is $3,500 for an individual, $7,000 for a family. So kind of the order of operations for those services where the deductible comes into play, which generally speaking is the more extensive, more expensive procedures or health events, you satisfy the deductible first, then it goes into the co-insurance, and as soon as you've reached that out-of-pocket maximum, the insurance will pay 100% of your in-network bills for the remainder of the year. As I said, those first 3 categories generally apply to kind of the larger expenses, larger health events. The vast majority of your care is going to be covered by copays. In this case, your primary care copay is $25. Your specialist copay is $50. The urgent care copay is $35. If you need to go to the emergency room, be aware that there is a separate $200 copay, then the deductible, then the co-insurance apply. Insurance companies do this as a little bit of a gut check. Is this really an emergency? If it is an emergency, yes, go to the emergency room. That's why you have insurance. But conversely to that, could it be something that could be handled in an urgent care facility with just a $35 copay? Not only does it save you a significant amount of money, the costs associated with urgent care versus the emergency room are, well, let's just say they're quite different. Emergency room is the most expensive entry point into the healthcare system. That's why insurance companies do this. If you are hospitalized, the deductible applies and then you pay 20%. It's worth mentioning on the emergency room that if you're actually admitted to the hospital, oftentimes that copay is waived. So again, if it is an emergency, go to the emergency room. Major diagnostic tests like MRI, CT scans, etc., also subject to the deductible and the co-insurance. Your prescription medications, for generic medications, is just a $15 copay. For the preferred brands is a $30 copay. For the non-preferred brands is a $60 copay. Remember, the more you can utilize generic medications, the more money you're putting back in your own pocket. The more you can utilize preferred brand name medications, the more money you're putting back in your own pocket. If you go to the pharmacy to pick up your medications and the pharmacist tells you that you have a $60 copay, there should be some alarm bells going off. You should be recognizing, oh, well, that probably means there's a preferred brand that might be an appropriate substitution. And in many cases, there's going to be a generic medication. Always ask your pharmacist if those options exist. And if they do, take it a step further and say, great, would you mind calling my doctor and seeing if that would be an appropriate substitution? Remember that it's always the call of the doctor whether or not those are appropriate changes to be made. Sometimes there might be some drug interactions or things like that based on other medications that you're taking. That's why it's important to first ask the questions, but then rely on your doctor for what the right answer is. Okay, so that's the buy-up plan. You also have an option to enroll in what we call the mid plan. It's not quite as rich as the buy-up plan, which means it's going to be less expensive, especially when it comes to enrolling your dependents on this plan. So the first thing you'll notice, the deductible is $2,500, $5,000 if you're enrolling your family. It's the same 80/20 coinsurance after that deductible has been satisfied. The out-of-pocket max is a little bit higher at $5,000 versus the $3,500 and $10,000 for the family. You'll also notice that the copay for primary care is a little bit higher. It's the same copay for specialists, and the copay for urgent care is a little bit higher compared to the buy-up plan, as is the emergency room copay, $250 versus the $200. Hospitalization and diagnostic procedures work the same way as the other plans, subject to the deductible, then that co-insurance. The pharmacy copays are identical on both of these plans. $15 for generic, $35 for the preferred brand, $60 for the non-preferred brand. So again, this is, especially if you're enrolling dependents on the plan, you have a little bit higher out-of-pocket costs, but what happens is that ends up squishing the premium down a little bit, so it's a little bit less expensive to be covered on the plan. The third option you have is what's called an HDHP, high deductible health plan. That means it is health savings account, commonly referred to as an HSA, qualified health plan. So if you're enrolled on this plan specifically, you also have the option to open a tax-free health savings account, and whatever dollars go into that savings account are done either via a pre-tax payroll deduction, or if they're outside of payroll, you can write off those contributions when it's time to file your taxes. Okay? It's a very, very simple plan design. $3,000 is the deductible for the individual, $6,000 for the family. Then you're into that 80/20 coinsurance until you hit the out-of-pocket maximum of $6,250 or $12,500. What makes it a very, very simple plan design is you'll notice there's no copays. Everything goes towards that deductible first, including, office visit copays and even your prescription drugs. And then once that deductible has been satisfied, then the insurance pays 80%. You pay the remaining 20% until you've reached your out-of-pocket maximum. It's actually the federal government, in designing what makes a plan HSA compatible and HSA eligible, says, hey, everything has to go towards that deductible first. Okay, so a comment I want to make about all three of these plans with respect to preventive care. Preventive care is covered in full, covered at 100%. You don't have to meet your deductible. You don't have to any copays. And if you're enrolled on the HSA qualified plan, that's the one part of your care that is not subject to that deductible. Generally speaking, that's going to be your annual physical. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just going to the doctor for your annual checkup. Sometimes it's called a wellness exam. Oftentimes they'll order some lab work associated with that. That lab work should be covered at 100% if it's the preventive care specific lab work as well. So it's very, very important, at least once a year, go in for your annual physical. There's no cost to you. The plan picks up the full cost of that. And oftentimes that's the first indicator that there might be some other health issues that you might want to take a look at that might not be on your radar. That's why that visit is so important each year. Okay, so if you're someone who generally doesn't go to the doctor a lot and you like the ability to put away tax-free dollars into your health savings account, the HSA qualified plan would be a great choice for you. By the way, if you're not aware, whatever you contribute to your health savings account that you don't spend on your health care stays in that account and grows and builds over time for use in the future. So let's say, for example, you ask your employer to put $250 a month pre-tax out of your paycheck into your health savings account. By the end of the year, you'll have a full $3,000. You'll have enough to cover that deductible if you need it. And let's say you only spend $1,000 on healthcare throughout the year, a couple office visits, a couple prescription drugs. So there's $2,000 still waiting for you next year. And you can say, hey, I just want to make sure I've always got $3,000, so let's reduce my HSA contribution. Or you say, no, let's keep that $250 contribution rolling into there, because while there are limits on how much you can contribute each year, there's ultimately no limits on how much you can ultimately have saved up in your health savings account. And again, as long as you're using those on healthcare expenses, the money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free. That's oftentimes referred to as the triple tax advantage. And then when you turn 65, you can continue to spend those dollars tax-free for the rest of your life, or if you would like, you can pull those dollars out and just treat it like ordinary income with no penalties. Oftentimes people will call it a health IRA because of that functionality once you're in retirement, okay? So that would be a good reason to choose the high deductible health plan. As I mentioned before, the mid plan, if you know you go to the doctor periodically, you take some prescription drugs, and I'm not sure why that is blue there. And you know that if you had a health savings account, it would just kind of be money in, money out, because you'd be spending on healthcare, but you want to have an affordable option, a more affordable option, especially if you're enrolling dependents. That would be a good reason to go on to the mid plan. There we go, got rid of it all. Not sure what happened there. And then we have the buy-up plan. If you're someone who says, you know what, I know that I'm going to use my health care. I would rather have lower out-of-pocket costs. Maybe you know you have a surgery upcoming or something like that. That would be a good reason to choose the buy-up plan. It's really, really great that you've got options that you can choose from, because healthcare is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. We all have different needs. That's why it's so great that we have multiple plans for you to choose from. Okay. Let's pivot down to the dental plan, also provided by Cigna. The deductible on the dental plan is $50. If you're enrolling family, it's up to $150, so up to 3 times that $50 amount. The annual plan maximum is $1,000. So think of that like Cigna having a bucket of money with your name on it. And if you're enrolling your dependents, each person has their own $1,000 bucket. And every time you go to the dentist and the dentist submits the bills to the carrier, they pull the money out of your bucket. And if you drain your bucket, you have exhausted your benefit for the plan year. But January 1st of every year, your bucket is replenished. So you get $1,000 each year paid by the insurance towards your dental care. So Class 1, the preventive and diagnostic services, are covered at 100% as long as you're seeing an in-network dentist. There, I did it again with that blue. Got to quit doing that. If you're seeing an out-of-network dentist, it's covered at 90%. Class 2, the basic restorative work, which includes endodontics, periodontics, fillings, etc., are covered at 90% in-network, 70% out-of-network. The Class 3 major work, restorative work, crowns, dentures, bridges, etc., covered at 50% in-network or out-of-network. And if you need implants, they are also covered at 50% in-network or out-of-network. Okay. Now onto the vision plan. It is, it says Cigna up on here, but it is a VSP plan. That was a copy and paste error on my part, but it is VSP. So your exam copay is $10 in-network or out-of-network. The allowance towards the rest of the cost of the exam is covered at 100% in-network, $39 if you're out-of-network. Your materials copay is $10. So if you need glasses, it's a $10 copay. The lenses, whether it's single vision, bifocal, trifocal, etc., are covered at 100%. If it's out of network, there's an allowance ranging between $23 and $64 if it's the single vision, bifocal, trifocal, etc. And the frame allowance is up to $150 towards the cost of your frames when you're in network. If it's out of network, up to $100. If you need contacts, you can get contacts instead of or in lieu of glasses. So if it's an elective decision for the contacts, that $150 allowance that would go to your frames can instead go towards your contacts. If it's therapeutic, if your eye doctor says, well, no, you need contacts, glasses aren't going to work, you need the contacts, then it is covered in 100%. And you can see if it's out of network, that same $100 allowance that you would have had for your frames, and then up to $210 for the therapeutic contact lenses. And then when we look at the frequencies, that makes this a very, very rich plan, because you can get an exam once a year, you can get new glasses or contacts once a year, and you can get new frames once a year. So be sure you're taking advantage of your vision benefit as well. So, hey, hopefully you found that quick overview helpful. If you have questions or need help, please look for our contact information through the Alliot web portal. Again, my name is Matt Henderson with Marsh McLennan Agency, and I am most happy to have helped you with this recording and look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you very much.